It wasn't until I got married and I asked my husband, can you give me time where I can get to know me and learn what I'm capable of, what I can do in this world? Because I've been taking jobs that I had to take. Now I get to sit back and discover who I am and what I really want to do.
Today's guest is Iris Nichole Patterson. She went from teen mom and cancer survivor to founder of a $1.6 million healthcare business. Starting with homemade hair products that landed in Whole Foods, she now leads Chicago Integrated Health, proving that purpose-driven work can heal communities.
Back in 2023, you were diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and it really defined how you have shaped this next part of your journey with Chicago Integrated Health.
My energy level shifted when I started experiencing abdominal pain. And this abdominal pain was so excruciating that it really leveled me to my knees, literally. I didn't know it was cancer.
How has that shifted your perspective of how you want to build Chicago Integrated Wealth?
It's been a phenomenal ride when it comes to taking all of that and building out a model to help people either enter into preventative care or support them after diagnosis. We have personal training, nutrition coaching, we have massage therapy.
You accept Medicaid and Medicare in a wellness practice that could easily be positioned as just premium services for people who could afford to pay.
It was imperative that we created a model inside of a model that supported our staff members. And what does our model look like? I'll tell you. So the first thing that we decided was
Is your brand polished on the outside but messy behind the scenes? The logo is clean, the colors pop, but the messaging is confusing and the content is all over the place. And the conversions, they flatline because of that. That's what Thread Strategy steps in. We help purpose-driven brands clarify their voice, unify their visuals, and build strategies that actually work online and in real life. At Threya, strategy isn't an afterthought, it's the entire framework. We're not here to just sound good, we're here to build bold, integrated brands that shift culture and scale impact. So if you're done winging it and you're ready to build with clarity, confidence, and consistency, head to threastrategy.com. That's THREI strategy.com and book your brand clarity session today. Because good visuals are cool, but strategy, that's what scales.
Welcome to the Purpose Profit Shift, where real stories about bold shifts illuminate how we can create a new economy. I'm your host, Rachel Bernier Green, social entrepreneur, activist, and founder of EJ Consortium, a finance and operations consulting firm designed to help purposeful businesses change the world. Today's guest exemplifies what it means to transform adversity into impact. Iris Nichole Patterson went from teen mother to stage 4 cancer survivor to building a $1.6 million healthcare empire that serves the community she came from. Starting with hair care products formulated in her kitchen, which landed in Whole Foods stores within a year, she now runs Chicago Integrated Health, a 3-generation family business employing 18 people with full benefits. Iris proves that when purpose drives profit, you don't just build businesses, you heal communities. Iris, welcome to the Purpose Profit Shift, and thank you so much for joining me.
thank you so much for having me.
So let's start at the beginning of your journey. I had the great fortune to meet you when we were both vendors in Whole Foods. And one of the first things you shared with me is that you became a mother at 16, just like your own mother did, and that's a moment that could really define someone's entire trajectory. So what was going through your mind when you realized that you were pregnant, and how did that experience shape the entrepreneur you'd eventually become?
Oh my goodness. You take me back to a conversation that I had with my daughter when I was telling her this story. And I didn't know just how passionate I was about this life that I was bringing into this world and not being a statistic again. And more importantly, being able to provide and not solely depend on my mom, whose life was already hard.
Yeah.
I really believe the hunger and drive started then. I was 16, trying to graduate high school, did graduate high school, It was extremely hard. I was working at UPS, after school just to buy Similac. Um, I didn't at that time, I was not a welfare recipient. Later, I became one, but not at that moment. I was trying to do it without welfare, but also trying to get good enough grades in order to walk across the stage. I had teachers whispering in my ear telling me that I wouldn't be able to handle that heavy load and I should put my baby up for adoption. And it was a gym teacher, and she was not skin folk.
Mm.
And every day she had a reason as to why I needed to put my baby up for adoption, to the point where I started to believe her. Um, I went home and I told my parents, and at that time, it was 8 of us living in a two-bedroom household. It was granny, grandpa, my mom, dad, my aunt, my cousin, Aaron, my brother was born, yeah, and myself and Taylor. And I went home and I announced to my family that I was putting this baby no, Taylor wasn't here, I was carrying Taylor.
Okay.
Um, and so I announced to my family that I was gonna put this baby up for adoption when I had her. And they said, "We don't give away babies around here." So they wanted to know where it came from, and I told my mother, and she wrote this angry letter, like, and at the end, she said, "If you wanna save somebody, go save the whales." And so and so I was telling Taylor this story, and tears started to come. I said, "I've been grinding ever since you got here, and I'm not gonna stop." So I think that in that moment when we said that we don't give away babies,
Mhm.
that it ignited some kind of fire, in me, and I have been in survival mode actually all the way up until I got married. So, 'cause now I was able to breathe, but yeah.
So I love that. And it's making me realize also that we have even more in common than we've realized. Because for a part of my childhood, we also lived in a three-generation home. My grandmother's home in Roseland, my parents and I were there. Some of my siblings, my aunt and my cousin were there. And yeah, that is so much more common than people
Yeah.
realize, but definitely a formative experience.
Yes.
So I love everything that you've shared so far. So tell me, when did you realize that your background wasn't really a limitation, but it was actually your greatest business asset? You talked a little bit about shifting from being in survival mode. So when did that kick in?
Um, you know, it wasn't until I got married and I asked my husband, um, who he recently retired, but at the time he was a state employee. But when he married me, he had it together. He had his home, his car, his career, pension, paying into that, all of that. So I felt I could ask him this question. I said, because now that we're married, can you give me some time to get to know Iris? I literally
Mm.
asked. I said, for so long, I was Taylor's mom, and I'm this young girl that's trying to prove everybody wrong. And I didn't say it in that way, in those words at the time, but I was essentially saying that. But I did say, can you give me time where I can get to know me and learn what I'm capable of, what I can do in this world? Because I've been taking jobs that I had to take. Now I get to sit back and I'm getting choked up, and discover who I am and what I really want to do. I
Right.
never could sit and ask myself, what is it that you really want to do? It was always a clock that I was racing against. The clock was rent. The clock was were
Mhm.
bills. And I could not say, oh, well, I think I want to be an astronaut. No. It was, girl, who will hire you today that will
Right.
pay you more money than what you made yesterday?
Taking
Because
care of
this
those
little
basic
person,
needs.
those basic needs. And he said, sure. He didn't have a whole lot of money, and he was like, you know, as long as you can help me somewhere, to bring something in to help me, but I don't care, what you do. Take your time. And then I went through this discovery period. And when I talk to people who say, I don't know what I want to do, I said, that's so exciting. You get
Right?
to go through this moment of discovery to
Yes.
figure out what it is. You know,
Reframe it. It's an
reframe it
opportunity.
absolutely. And because to them it's scary. It's like if I don't figure it out in time, I'm gonna be on the street. And it's like, no, you get to go to work still at a place you don't really want to be, but in your downtime, you could think about all the other things.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And I birthed, well, by necessity, I created Iris Botanicals. And it was because somewhere in there, I lost my hair before I got married. We
Right.
we were living together, uh, engaged, and so it was during a short period of time where I was preparing to walk down the aisle, and I went and I got this glue in, this quick weave, and I loved it so much, I went back to the stylist to get another install. The way she removed the quick weave ruined my hair, and to
That's
the
what
point
caused
where
the
I
hair
lost
loss?
hair. That's how I lost my hair, and the
Oh,
first time. Yeah, and I say the first time with this qualifier because I did lose my hair like 2, 3 years ago before cancer. But yeah, so I went back. She took the, quick weave tracks out too prematurely, and
okay.
my hair went with it. And so I went and I bought some stuff from the beauty supply store. It didn't work. And then I'm like, what if? That's how my brain works. That's how I ended up. I didn't what if myself into this clinic that I own. But and I'm like,
Tell me more about that part. Like, what made you think I can solve this myself instead of just going into panic mode?
what I learned about myself is that I am naturally curious. And what I later discovered is because of my natural curiosity and I end up creating a formula that works, I'm now on this thing where I'm like, is there something I can't do? But
I love that.
I've always thought that maybe if I don't know, try it. Let's see if I don't know if it'll come together, if it'll work like I see it in my mind. So when I was studying these recipes, these raw ingredients rather, um, I'm like, well, the benefits of this says that it does this, and then the benefits of this says that it does this and this and this. And so I'm like, well, what if I put them all together? Will it make some miracle drug? so, and that's exactly what happened. I started seeing these raw ingredients,
Okay.
and I started putting things together and researching because I love research. And so I put it on my head, and I want to say like within 3 months, I started to see I want growth that was a lot faster than the hair products that was on the shelves at the time. At the time in 2014, 2015, we did not have a whole lot of growth products. Now they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. But we had, Dr. Miracles, we had
Mhm.
Do Grow, but and then of course the castor oil. But I saw that, I needed more than what was out there and readily available to me. And so I felt like if I created in my kitchen, then maybe the formula would be a little bit stronger, than
Yeah.
what's on the market. And so because of that, I was able to grow my hair a lot faster than what the other products did. But the secret sauce with Iris Botanicals was this. I did not know that me throwing shade at the stylist on Facebook was marketing. So, because I knew nothing about running a business, and so I wanna say maybe it was well after the wedding, my hair grew into a bang, and then I saw her post some kinda special, and it triggered me. I got triggered. And so I said, "You know what? I'm finna I know she gonna see my post. So let me put this before and this after up here. And then let me write something along the lines like, I fixed my hair without you because she left me hanging. When I
Oh,
sent
no.
photos, because the fast forward, when she put the other quick weave on top of my hair, it started to lift within a couple of weeks because there was no hair to attach it to. So when the glue separated from my skin, I was able to put my fingers underneath, and then I have a picture of me pulling back the weave, taking a picture. So, and then eventually I took it off, cried, saw it and everything, sent her photos, and then she was like, "Well, I can get you in to do your hair again, you're gonna pay full price." I'm like, "No, you gotta regrow my hair." And that's how
Yeah.
I ended up going on this long journey about, like, how do I fix my hair in enough time to accelerate this experience because I only got a few months. What if I get
Right.
so and so I regrew my hair on my own. She took no responsibility, and so I put the before and after photo up, and I wrote this subliminal post like, I fixed my hair, so no thanks to you, something along those lines. People were so interested in what I did for me because they look like the before photo, and they were like, "Iris,
Right.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but girl, I look like your before photo.
Tell
What
me
did
what you
you
did.
do?"
So, at what point in this process did you go from just trying to save your wedding day and regrowing your hair to actually intentionally growing a business? And how did you go from that trigger point to landing in Whole Foods?
So, it was it really it happened the divine connections is what it was. Everything was so divinely led. When, cause I have a natural heart to take care of people.
Mhm.
And so when I got the inboxes and in the comment sections and stuff like that, of people saying, "Oh my God, me too." She had her own Me Too movement. There were really people that she, you know, but I said, "Well, I can give you some of what I have," and then, people started telling others. I started lightly selling things through the inbox. I had no website or anything. I was still working as a, massage therapist, so I have a it would there was an attorney who would always come to see me, like, once a month or twice a month to get, a massage at this chiropractic office, and we would just catch up, and he was like, "So, what have you been up to?" And I'm like, "I think I have a business." He was like, "Really?" Said, "Yeah, I think so. I don't know nothing about no running no business," and he was like, "Tell me more about it," and then when I explained to him everything, he said, "Oh, yeah, you do have a business." I'm like, "I don't know nothing about running a business," and so he was like, "Well, I have a friend who works for, John Marshall Law School, and he's connected to this business incubator," and I'm like, "Well, what is a business incubator?" And so he started to tell me about Sunshine.
Okay.
And so after I learned about Sunshine, he was like, "I think you might wanna start there since you say you don't know anything." And so I met with his boss. It was actually his boss, as because the guy I was massaging worked at Job Marshall Law School too.
Okay.
And so he was like, "I'm gonna connect you to Mike." And I, sent Mike an email, and he told me about Sunshine. I enrolled in Sunshine. After I went through Sunshine, I had, developed relationships, with, the different students and everything. And some weeks had went by, and one of my former classmates was like, "Hey, I've been looking for your number because I saw this hair school that I wanted to tell you about. It's a natural hair school and you might be interested." And by that
Mm.
time, God told me it's time for you to go to hair school. And I'm like, "I'm tired of school. I don't feel like going to school again." And he was like, "Go to hair school." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know about a school. I don't even know where to find a hair school." And then she pops up with this hair school. I'm like, "You real funny, but okay, I'm gonna be obedient." It was in the hair school that the
Ah.
director introduced me to Whole Foods because she
Okay.
was already in the process of finishing up her labels to get into Whole Foods. And they had one more I guess, like, search for products, and it was at Hamilton Park they told me
Okay.
about. Yeah, and I went and pitched, and, we were the 44, that got in, and it was actually through my obedience that all of this happened. Now the way that I told this story was exactly how it happened, fast pace.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about nothing, learned a little something, and then all of a sudden, God put me in this store,
And got to
and
work
it
immediately.
it got immediately. And so, when I went into Inglewood, because the reason why you and I were chosen by Bobby, the VP at the time, was you had a fast-growing product as well in Whole Foods where it just took off.
Yeah.
Well, in the beauty care, I was, like, number 1 in the beauty care
Yes.
because the beautiful thing with me, why that worked at my advantage, to be in beauty at the time was they hired locally. So my demographic worked at the cash register, they was mopping the
Mhm.
floors, they was in the butcher department, they were telling their cousins who lived on the block, they were telling their family members, like, "We got a product that grow edges." So, if I had and I'm saying this now, kinda lightly, but it's true. If I had the knowledge that, let's just say Maya Organics, who started her hair products in the same year I did, if I had any of the knowledge she had in the financial backing, we could have been competitors, like,
Yeah.
TGIN and, God rest her soul and all of that. But now that I'm talking to you about this and sitting in my office, it wasn't meant for me to stay in that industry. I
Yes.
believe Byron's Botanicals came to show me what I was capable of because as quickly as I rose, um, I started to fall out of love with it little by little. But
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that is so critical. I think sometimes as business owners, we can get attached to our business and feel like it's really a part of us or that it defines us. But it had to Iris Botanicals had to move out of the way because there was bigger in store for you. And so I would like to talk a little bit about everything that came next and how Iris Botanicals really prepared you for leveling up and doing something even more impactful. But before we go there, I want to talk about the um, kind of health crisis as a catalyst, because back in 2023, you were diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And I can't imagine hearing those words. But what really strikes me about that process is that when you talk about this experience, you talk about it as kind of a validation for your health philosophy and not just a personal battle. And it really defined how you have shaped this next part of your journey with Chicago integrated health. So tell me a little bit about the shift in perspective that happened there.
absolutely. And so, yes, in 2023, that was a rough year. That was.
Yeah.
By the time I had, I was clear about what direction I wanted to go in with Iris Botanicals. I hadn't told Whole Foods yet, but I knew
Okay.
that it was time for me to kind of transition into something else. During that time, though, it was around March
Okay.
of 2023 where I started experiencing some symptoms, some different types of symptoms. And I started, well, at the time, I thought it was weight gain, but it was really inflammation building up in my body, a lot of fluid, so and then to follow all of that, me not being able to fit my clothes and my energy level shifted. My around June-ish is when I started experiencing abdominal pain.
Mm.
And this abdominal pain was so excruciating that it really leveled me to my knees, literally. I remember like sitting on my knees on the side of my bed, waiting for the pain to finally release and go. I couldn't speak above a whisper, and there were times that my teeth were chattering with hot flashes because the pain was just that intense. What I did not know is that I had a bowel blockage, and the bowel blockage was cancer in my colon. At the time, they thought that I had cervical cancer because the pain, I would feel pain in that area, but also the colon cancer made contact with my left ovary at that time.
Mm.
And so it started to grow quite rapidly between July and September. My left ovary grew into a 10.1-pound mass. I was wearing
My
maternity
gosh.
clothes, fluids was building up on my lungs. I couldn't walk to the bathroom fast enough ever because it was sitting on my kidneys, and I could not sleep restfully.
Mhm.
I was in a hospital for 21 days. I had 3 surgeries. One of the surgeries was an ostomy bag. That was awful. That's when I knew my husband really loved me, like, cause he helped
Mhm.
me package it. I said, "Wow, you know what? You a keeper."
You picked the right one.
Oh, you're right.
Really
Um,
living out those vows.
right, you know what I'm saying? So, it wasn't until September of that year that I, had the big major surgery where I had 2 surgeons in a room, a gynae surgery and general surgery. My doctors, I have 4 different teams of doctors, and they said, "Iris, you are a rare case, that these 2 things are happening in your body at the same time because of one diagnosis." So, they removed the mass. I have a picture of it because general surgery, he was like, "You wanna see it?" I'm like, "Mm." You know, it's like he said it took 2 of us to hold the bucket, and so they did a biopsy, and it wasn't until, I think, October I learned my true diagnosis, and they said it's stage 4 colon cancer. If it didn't make contact with my left ovary like the way it did, it would have been stage 3.
Okay.
But stage 4 colon cancer, and they said that there's no cure. That level.
One of the things that had me in awe during this process is that during treatment, you made a decision that this experience would not just be something that you survived in private, that it was something that was going to inform your business mission and that you were going to share with people the real deal behind what you were going through. How did you go from getting some news that just like completely, dropped you to your knees to thinking, I need to share this and let people know what I'm going through?
When I was in a hospital bed, so let me back up because that's a great question. I didn't want to. I felt embarrassed.
Really?
I felt very embarrassed. First started to feel sick. Before that mass grew to the size that it was, and before I was hospitalized,
Mhm.
I felt like a fraud because it goes back to having to prove myself that I can take care of my baby and that I can be successful in spite of.
Mm.
And so before diagnosis, when I started to feel sick, I'm like, how are you going to be a certified nutritionist and you're ill? How are you a certified
Mm.
nutritionist and you're gaining weight? How is this happening? Like, are you not eating enough fiber? Why is it that you're constipated? Why you all? Because I didn't know it was
Right.
cancer. I just knew that that something was going on with my body,
Yeah.
and I'm on this regimen, and it's supposed to be this fantastic regimen. Why is it not working? Well, here's the thing, Rachel, it did work. It was
Yes.
because of my regimen that I was able to take the most aggressive drugs that are reserved for people like me. That's what they said. These are reserved for people like you who are healthy otherwise. You don't have diabetes. You don't have hypertension. You don't have cholesterol. The drugs were giving me high blood pressure. The drugs were raising my sugar levels. They did all the things that I was keeping under control. If I had any of those diagnoses, it would have killed me. The drugs.
And I have heard you talk about that before, about how your body's ability to handle chemo
Yes.
was because of how proactively you've taken care of yourself. And so, how did that change how you talk to clients about prevention? Because this is a whole nother reason we don't often think about that when we say, okay, well, I want to be healthy or I want to avoid diabetes or what have you. But people don't think about how that can be a compounding factor and limit your
They
treatment
don't think
options.
about it. No, they really don't, and I'm usually just straightforward with them. Like, it's not that you will make yourself invincible against
Right,
things,
right.
it's that you can survive them if they
Yes.
should happen. Something like cancer is not, in my opinion, when I really assess the situation with myself, with Princess Kate, with the king, these people who have cancer,
Yeah.
greatest diets, like they eat the best foods in the world, but they still
Yeah.
ended up with cancer. She had breast cancer, Princess Kate.
Mhm.
So when I assess the situation, it's cancer in a lot of instances today, it's not always preventable
Yeah.
because we don't know we can kind of guess the origin that it's even in the healthier foods that we grow, some pesticides in there. It's something that's going on, as far as like your environment. Environmentally, something is happening. So it's not always something that you can escape. But if it should happen, your body's ability to be able to fight with you and for you increases when you take
Mm.
care of it the best
Yes.
way, you know how. And that's what happened with me. My body fought with me and for me. I didn't go through all the traumatic experiences that I had with chemotherapy and having, you know, going to anaphylactic shock
Mm.
because my body, it was a lot pumping into me week after week or every other week for 6 months, and they
Yeah.
said at any point you couldn't when I did my last session of the last time, um, what was happening was, I kept going into anaphylactic shock, like, maybe every 3rd or 4th round,
Mm.
um, and when I finished those rounds, I said, "Why is it that I keep, like, having, allergic reactions?" They said, "Oh, we don't tell you that that can happen at any point." I was even allergic to the Benadryl that they pumped
Mm.
into me to stop the reaction, and that gave me tachycardia. It made me feel like I was having a heart attack,
Yeah.
and so but then you gotta go back into this torture chamber and do it all over again because they still detect the cancer, and so if I was already sick before cancer, that wouldn't be an option for me. They woulda
Right.
had to give me a
Your
lesser
body wouldn't have
drug
been
and
able to
hope
cure
for
it?
the drugs.
Yeah.
So, because I was plant-based whole foods, because I was exercising, because I had a good heart, good blood pressure, all of that, I was a candidate for
Mhm.
something that killed a very aggressive, disease. So, we often think that because it's not happening to me right now, I don't need to prioritize my health. I can still do all the things. No one is saying that you cannot enjoy good foods. Chicago has some of the
Yeah.
best foods on the planet.
We do.
So I am gonna try a peach cobbler egg roll. Do I need 6
Yeah.
of them? No. Yes, but I can have one. And do I need to eat them every day? No, but I can have
Yeah.
one. So it's just, we just want you to just have this in the forefront of my mind. I wanna be as healthy as possible, but still have a wonderful enjoy life.
Yes. And I just want to go back to something that you said when you first started describing how it felt when you were processing the news that you had cancer, about feeling shame because you said, well, if I lead this healthy lifestyle, shouldn't I be healthy? But I think that that brings so much power to your testimony now
Yeah.
because it shows other people that there is not shame in getting
Right.
a chronic illness, and that
No.
being best positioned to take care of yourself with the entire suite of tools that are available is your best bet. But your transparency in making that difficult decision to not shrink back into the shadows and deal with this, but to say, I'm going to face it up front. I'm going to tell people what I'm going through. We're going to deal with the nitty gritty of this. I think will have a profound impact on people that, you've never had the opportunity to meet, just because they have come across your story. And
Absolutely.
it definitely sounds like your cancer experience seems to have crystallized something about your purpose. So, before we get to kind of how that health crisis transformed Chicago Integrated Health from a business idea into a movement, what did it feel like when you got to the other side of that and the doctors came back and said that your scans came back clean?
Oh my goodness, I burst into
I
tears.
bet.
It was
As you
just
should.
an amazing experience. And so, but but on the flip side of that, so where I am now when it comes to my health is that when they told me stage 4, there's no cure, that meant that we can go rounds until we don't detect it. You could
Mhm.
take a break, you can breathe, you don't have to think about chemo for a while, and then it can resurface.
Mhm.
And 2 years later, actually this year in April, my right ovary
Mm.
started to do what the left ovary did because
Yeah.
cancer was detectable near it. And so, I had to have surgery. I had to have my right ovary removed. So that put me in, menopause. Oh my goodness. But, I'm well. I am healthy. I'm the healthiest I've ever felt. And so but I am doing chemo. Well, I'm supposed to have chemo tomorrow, but I'm canceling that because I gotta go on Daytime Chicago.
Oh, okay.
But so,
Congrats.
but thank you, but this chemotherapy is a lot lighter.
Okay.
The drugs aren't as harsh. So, and I have a little bit more flexibility where I can be like, "I'll see y'all in 2 weeks," So, but it's maintenance. I will tell
Okay.
you though that that was hard hearing it. Now,
Yeah.
she did say that to me. Dr. Pandia, my doctor, is just phenomenal. And I go in and out when I'm sitting with her. And so I don't always hear everything she says, which is why you need to take someone to the doctor with you.
Right.
It's always emotional going there. And I don't always listen because I don't want to be hearing everything. Like, yeah, you can take a break, but we go see you in a few weeks.
That's
I don't
real.
hear that part. But I do hear, oh, you can take a break. And I'm like, hmm. And John said, did you hear everything she said? So but, she did say that it's a possibility that I would have to be on these drugs forever. And so, I just processed that this year, even though
Okay.
I've been on the journey for 2 years. I'm sure she said it 2 years ago. I absolutely didn't hear nothing after, "Oh, there's no cure." It sounded like she was Charlie Brown's teacher after that. I ain't hear
I
nothing
can
else.
imagine.
So I'm in a space, I gotta do what I gotta do to extend my life,
Yeah.
and I'm not playing with it. During this time, there are a lot of people who had all kind of opinions as to how I should approach this, and it's all void because it ain't you. And many of them, 99%, no, 100% of them have not had cancer before.
Mm.
But you on TikTok, you have a lot of fake doctors in the
Yes.
comments that's telling you, if you just eat sea moss, girl, be with me
Right.
on my
Just
comment
take the black
section.
seed oil.
Take the black seed oil. I'm like, if you just heard another TikToker say that.
Right.
So you
But
didn't
this
hear
is your
somebody who's
actual life.
really battling.
Yes.
So no, I told him I'm gonna take the drugs.
Yeah.
And that's where I've always been.
Because you can do both.
You can.
Holistic does not mean that we throw out the entirety of one mode of medicine because it is problematic in some ways.
Western medicine has its place.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
we what I love about Western medicine, because, we can say a whole lot about this. There are a lot of things that I can say about the
I
healthcare
know we could
system.
have a whole episode just
Whole
about that
thing.
piece.
But they're excellent when you're dealing with, a crisis. They can
Mhm.
stop the hemorrhaging. Like, they can come in, they can save the life. Now, they may not prevent you from getting there, but they
Yeah.
can come in and save the life. And so, because that's where they make the most money, life-saving drugs,
Mhm.
chemotherapy. We can go there. I know that I've fallen into this system, but
Yeah.
Western medicine has its place there. But when it comes to the Eastern medicines and the holistic drugs, they also have a place. But they can, like you said, it can be a wonderful marriage,
Yeah.
keeping me
Yes.
healthy enough to take these drugs.
Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So, how has, especially given the piece that you just described, about the just starting to process the idea that you may have to, come back to do maintenance chemo from time to time, and that that might be part of what's required to keep you healthy. How has, as you've processed that, how has that shifted your perspective of how you want to build Chicago integrated wealth? Because I know you're building it with your mother, Lauren, and your daughter, Taylor. You have 3 generations. And I've just been watching some of the things that you've said about how you've been intentional about creating this with that in mind.
Yeah, so we brought so many players in here. Since we since my bio was written last, we're at about 50 staff members now.
Wow.
Yes, yes, yeah, we hit the multi-million-dollar status.
Yes.
Uh, we
Congrats.
are nearing 3 million, and it's just we're in July, we're going into August. So, it's been a phenomenal ride when it
Yes.
comes to taking all of that and building out a model to help people either enter into preventative care or
Mhm.
support them after diagnosis. Not a whole lot with cancer, but with other lifestyle diseases. So we now, I've taken everything that I've learned over this journey to remain healthy and strong. And we've now created a model where we have personal training, we have nutrition coaching, we have massage therapy. And the sweetest thing that I've seen today when we talk about Taylor, where she works with our youth, and she brings that model in minus the massage
Yes.
therapy. But of course, the mental health component, the nutrition component, the personal training component. A mom brought her son up today. The mom is getting a massage, and her son is going to ABA counseling. And so we are like, okay, we want to take care of mom too. We want to take care of parents as well. We understand about life stresses. And
Yes.
so if we can keep you calm and supported and, in a space where you are putting your health first along with parenting, then if we keep mom healthy, we keeping son healthy.
Yeah.
So we're now taking a family approach. This
I
familiar
love
approach,
that.
yeah, is what's unique about us, because we did bring
Absolutely.
the ABA component, in when it comes to the youth, where in our youth clinic, Project Thrives, but we understand that the parents come in feeling stressed because it requires a lot more of them. Their child requires a lot more of them than a child who is just doesn't qualify for ABA, doesn't need the ABA support.
I
And
can
so that we
definitely relate
understand,
to that.
yeah, and it's a round the clock thing.
Yeah.
So my grandson, he's on an IEP and he's 5. And when I say his little ball of energy is from sun up to sundown,
Oh,
and they
yes.
always smiling, and you trying your hardest to smile under stress, but they always smiling because their world is fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything all the love, all the support, all the attention, and then you passed out at the end of the day.
Yes. Like, I can only imagine how much different that mom's relationship with her
Yeah.
son's therapy is going to be, because
Yeah.
with my son, he's had physical therapy, occupational
Yeah.
therapy, speech
Yeah.
therapy, developmental
Yeah.
therapy, and there has never been a time where we could take him to a provider, and while he was getting his treatments, that we could do something else to also address the stress and
Yeah.
additional things that go along with caretaking when you're, taking care of someone who has special medical needs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
And
that
that's why we
is
want
an
to change the face
amazing
of healthcare in that
approach.
way. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, of course. I'm just sitting here listening to this and just thinking about how that mom's day looks different because you exist. Because you went from Botanicals and made the decision, like, yeah, this is okay, but this isn't it. And that I need to step into bigger. And so I had to move that out of the way. Um,
Mhm.
And another thing that fascinates me about Chicago Integrated Health is that you accept Medicaid and Medicare in a wellness practice that could easily be positioned as just premium services for people who could afford to pay. And that's a fairly radical business decision. Can you walk me through how you arrived at that choice that it was important for you to accept those payment options?
It was imperative. It was one of the hardest, not decisions to make, but the hardest to achieve,
Mm.
because they don't make it easy for you to be able to accept or providers
Yeah.
to be able to take Medicaid. There's no training. You have a manual. It's 252 pages,
Oh
rough
my God.
roundabout. How I know that is because I read through it dozens of times to understand it. I told you I love research,
Yeah.
and it was important that I understood everything, the inside out about Medicaid to know the best approach possible for us to be able to support Medicaid eligible families. And so what I love about this is also too because when we think I won't say we, when many others think about Medicaid eligible families, they think about lazy people at
Mm.
home. These are working class people.
Yes,
They work 5 days a week,
if not
and so
more.
or more, right? And they have to find time to take care of themselves, find time to take care of their families. So I wanted to make this accessible, but I also wanted to create a space where, they can access quality healthcare. That was very
Right.
important. Why I know about all of the other is because I used to be on Medicaid. I said at one
Yes.
point I did. So I did. I wasn't at 16, but I was at like 29 or whatever. I was on Medicaid, going to work every day. And
Mhm.
so I the clinics that I had access to, I wouldn't take my dog.
Yeah.
So when I curated this space, and I did curate this space room by room, I wanted to make it beautiful. I wanted to make it I want I wanted them to feel like I wasn't throwing anything at them. And
Yeah.
so and then I when I hand selected our providers, and that's what we do, we hand select. We rarely go on Indeed. We recently went on Indeed for massage therapists because I handpicked all the massage therapists that I knew of in my circle, and most of them have businesses now. So I'm like, okay, now we got to go out on Indeed. But before then, these were hand selected mental health providers. It was if you know them kind of thing, let
Mhm.
me talk to them. These are people who are in love with the model.
Yes.
And then these are people who've been in the industry that's eat, sleep, and breathe their industry for
Mhm.
years. So they have a passion for what they do. It's not just a check. But what
Yeah.
I also want to cross over into for a hot second is the way that I treat my staff, because the way that I treat them translates over into how they care for my clients.
That was actually where I was going to go next because when I was thinking about you accepting Medicare and Medicaid, also it brought me back to you being a startup and being intentional about saying, I need to provide quality jobs, and that includes health insurance, which is a significant investment. But I remember how excited you were when you first were able to offer health insurance to your team. And then I
Yeah.
remember when I said, okay, I need to do the same, I came to you and said, can I pick your brain? Can you tell me what you went through, the different options that you looked at? And you sat down with me for like an hour and walked me through it. And because of that, I was able to add health insurance for my team. And my son had a surgery that we never would have been able to afford because our
Oh, yeah.
previous insurance was not in network. And so the seeds that you are planting are having a ripple effect. And my son is thriving because he
Oh,
can get access to that care. So I know how much of a difference it makes for your employees. So, and I think that that's probably, like you said, with the decision to accept Medicaid and Medicare, it was an easy decision to make, but a hard one to execute. And I know that paying living wages and offering health insurance falls in that same
oh,
category. So, how did you do it and why was that so important to you?
it was so important, and thank you for that testimony, like, um, it is a passion of mine to help other business owners scale that way,
Yes.
because it is a model that I'm currently researching now. I just sent out a few text messages to, my directors. So I have a director in every department. What I knew that I needed to do, and they said they all love working here, but what I knew that I needed to do in order to require the level of commitment that I'm putting in is the fact that the first thing that I needed to help shape, fix, or whatever was the struggle, the worry about money. How can I
Yes.
shift that? And
Adjusting
so,
addressing those core needs.
and absolutely. Time, money, rest.
Yes.
It was imperative that we created a model inside of a model that supported our staff members. And what does our model look like? I'll tell you. So the first thing that we decided was we wasn't going to dictate when they came to work. We allowed them to set their own schedule. We tell them this is the number of hours that we need from you each week. As long as you coordinated with the clients, we don't care. And so even our front desk, they get to write in their schedules for the week.
Mm.
They work together to support each other. That was the other thing.
Yes.
All of our staff members love each other. So they get to work
True
together,
collaboration.
coordinate, yes, the schedule. Like, okay, I'll come in on this Wednesday if you need Tuesday because you have to go to your children's recital or whatever.
Mhm.
You're going to work it out. Let's all put our heads together. That's how they work together. Our directors, um, all of them make six figures. It was important to me that each director made six figures because I needed the most commitment from them.
Yeah.
So I needed them to be able to take care of their families, buy eggs, all the things, rest,
Girl,
because I
the
need the
eggs.
buy-in. I'm not paying you, and they get to work their businesses. All of them
Yeah.
get to work their businesses. I don't care about that. I even support their businesses. When it came down to the healthcare, the 401k, the short-term disability, the dental, the vision, which is what we care now offer, I wanted to make sure that their futures are secure, mainly because our staff here, a lot of our staff are in their 20s. So we're not telling them about securing their future in their 20s, and you're not waiting till you're 40 to figure it out
Yes.
because, culturally, that's what happens. It's not until you're
Right.
40 something years old, you're like, "Oh, I should have been paying into my all this time, I should have had 401k." Now you're playing catch up.
Mhm.
So we're teaching them very early on. So it's yes, the collaboration, the connectedness, the community,
Yes.
and I'm helping also to shape their futures as leaders. We're getting ready to do this leadership camp that we invested in for our directors, and then we're going to come back and do it for our staff. So now it's finding your happy place in health. Isn't just about the client, it's about our staff too. So
Yes.
when they come to work because they slept well, because
Right.
they can eat, because they spend time with their kids, because they set their own schedules and they can do that, but they still show up for work. When they're now greeting the client, they're well rested and ready. and
Yes.
they are in love with the job. So when they talk to the client experience that. Now we have happy clients. We have clients who can't stay away. We have clients
Yes.
who spend the day with us because they love the community. They want to be a part. One client brought her daughter and was telling my office manager, put her to work too while I go work out. Help her organize the shelves. So now they become, just this family, to scroll and see people you may know, and then that's your gym in the background of their profile picture because they taking a picture with the personal trainer. It's
Yeah.
it's really great. I knew that I wanted to do something innovative that I haven't seen before. And it was all based on how mistreated I was at my job, at jobs that I could never qualify to work at. This
Hmm.
clinic that I created was a space that I would have never qualified on paper to work at.
Yes.
Every single person here are people who've been thrown away and they weren't given an opportunity, but we saw something in them and we helped shape that. And now they're just rock stars. My director of fitness said recently, I get to work at Chicago Integrated Health. And that
Yes.
language lets me know, like, man, she just in love, it's wonderful. Now I won't say that we didn't have some bad apples, but what's so funny about the bad apples, they remove themselves. We
Yes.
haven't had to fire anybody. One guy was taking advantage and it was brought to our attention, and you're not on my radar until you're on my radar because I don't micromanage. And so it was a couple of people because they protect the space that we're in, brought it
Yes.
to my attention. And when me and my mother called him to the office, we didn't directly accuse, but we said we see some scheduling conflict. You know what? Don't even worry about it. You ain't got to pay me. You ain't got to pay
Take
me.
myself out.
Like, you know what?
There is a brand strategist we work with sometimes, and he says that he always reminds me that building your brand strategy and your team culture, it should not only attract the right people to you, but it should repel the
Yeah.
wrong people away from you. And
Yeah.
that is a testament to the culture you built that the people, they say, I get to work here. And
Yeah.
they also know when they're not a right fit and take themselves on out.
Yeah. I love it.
So we could talk forever because I'm just thinking about all of the seeds that you have sown and how this is going to impact the people that work for you, the communities that you show up in to offer care, the families of those people, and then
Yeah.
all of the clients that come to you and how they are experiencing healthcare in a different way, in an elevated way, and just
Yes.
thinking about all of the people that that will impact, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is absolutely phenomenal. So, as we kind of wind things down, I would love for you to share that for other entrepreneurs that are listening who want to build businesses that serve their communities, what would you say is the most radical decision they need to be willing to make? Because you've made quite a few and they have paid off.
Yeah. What I would say is if you just because you haven't seen it done before, don't mean that it can't be done.
I almost clapped
So,
in front of this mic, but I know my podcast editors would be upset with me.
but that's what I've learned because that's what I'm
Yes.
living in right now. You
Right.
know, so I have a director of operations, and she said on more than one occasion, we're building something that we haven't seen, and I'm here with you to do it. But it's if it lives in your mind, it can be materialized. And so
Yes.
don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of people not seeing it with you because they're not. I was the only person to see
Yes.
this thing. My mother admits it. She was like, it sound good. Okay, let's try it. But that's the thing. Do it anyway. If he
Yes.
shows it to you and you can see the inner workings of it, build it. That's what I would say.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter that it hasn't been done before. It's very scary to be the first. I am the only Black-owned integrated practice that with this model in Illinois. I can
Yes.
say that safely.
Yes.
So it is scary, but It's for somebodies. It's a bunch of people who are benefiting from this
Yes.
internally and externally. If I was to run afraid from it, then I would have missed a call to be there to bring people out of darkness. I've had people to say, "You
Mhm.
saved me." So, it's a calling. That's what a calling is. Only God you know about it, and because He's charged you with this dream. So, you have a responsibility to do it.
Yes. I love that. And on that note, if you could go back and talk to the 16-year-old pregnant version of yourself who was sitting there getting those messages from the gym teacher every day about what she was not capable of, what would you tell her about what's possible when you decide that your circumstances don't define your contribution?
What I would give the first thing I would do before I say anything is give her the biggest hug,
Yes.
and I'd be sitting in front of her like, "Girl," you know,
You don't even
"Girl,
know what is
I"
waiting for you.
you know, 'cause and then I would just tell her, like you said, "You have no idea what's down this road. So keep going. Keep crying," 'cause I was crying then too. I was crying. But keep crying. Girl, pick yourself up because the destination is, oh my God,
Oh, yes.
mind blowing. So, yeah, that's what I would say to young Iris. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard.
Mm,
Man, listen,
yes.
I can just go on, girl. I'm about to journal. Yeah, when I leave.
Yes. And just to be petty, because I had a similar experience with a teacher telling me of something I was not capable of. What would you
Yeah.
go back and say to that teacher now?
In your face, I make way more money than you and always will. It's 'cause
Yes. Right. Let that be a lesson the next time you try to step to someone and tell them what
right.
they can and cannot do. I love that. So, for those of you listening, this has been an incredible conversation with Iris Nichole Patterson. And Iris, if people are looking to find out more about you or support your work, where can they find you?
Yes, they can go to integratedhealthchicago.com, and then follow all the social medias, Chicago Integrated Health. Um, and if they wanted to reach us, they can call 773-234-7775 and hello@integratedhealthchicago.com.
This conversation with Iris has really proven that you don't have to choose between doing good and doing well, that you can scale responsibly, build wealth, and create thriving businesses that uplift communities. So, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Purpose Profit Shift wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next time as we continue exploring what's possible when business becomes a force for justice, sustainability, and profit. Because remember, the future of business isn't just about what you build, it's about who you become in the process and who you bring along with you. Until next time, keep shifting. We'll see you soon.